Good morning, sir.
Be comfortable. I know you are not used to wearing a sari. Don't trip and fall.
Yes, sir.
I'll give you 2 minutes to settle down.
Yes, sir.
Good. Some simple questions. What's your mother tongue?
Telugu, sir.
So born in Bangalore.
Yes, sir.
You have studied in BITS. Ranchi. Acha, this particular, your college is close to Ranchi.
Yes, sir.
Good. And you specialized in some chemical engineering. And after that, which IIM you studied? Indore. IIM Indore. Okay. Right, don't worry. They are not going to put you into any discomfort. You were in Indore for 2 years, physically. And now you are working in some touche. Deloitte.
Yes. I worked, I have resigned, sir.
You are now full time.
In preparation. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that
If you are more
I
comfortable,
can hear you better. Yeah.
we leave it to you. The choice is yours.
Yeah.
Okay? 2 years of a life was spent in Indore.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any memories of that area? What is that area called? And geographically, how is it different from the other parts of India?
So our campus was situated in Rao, which is close to Rao Pitampur, the industrial zone. But specifically, my memories related to Indore are one, that it is a very clean city. Geographically, the important factors that I have seen are that it's normally a plain region, and our campus specifically situated on Prabandh Shikhar, which is the top point in the city of Indore. So these are things, and it's a clean city. This is something that I really take back from Indore.
Under the Swachh Bharat mission, Indore has been ranked as the #1 city 4 times successively. And
Because I'm a Telugu municipal commissioner, are you aware of
yes,
it? The man who made Indore such a clean city is a Telugu man.
I'm not aware that he is from Telugu.
what practices do you think Hyderabad Municipal Corporation should adopt from what has been done in Indore to ensure that we are also equally clean in terms of solid waste, liquid waste management, civic amenities, interaction with the people having grievances with the local body? So you can talk about it from your experience.
So, with respect to cleanliness, my first takeaway from there is the situation of garbage bins, which the city has meticulously planned, with every 50 meters showing a board also saying where is the next nearest garbage bin situated. So this is a very important takeaway for me, considering we live in Hyderabad. We have a lot of garbage bins, but we do not have notice boards that tell us that there's a specific garbage bin located here. Secondly, coming to solid and liquid waste management, Indore took a lot of active awareness campaigns to tell them that these are 2 separate garbage bins, one in green and one in blue, that we are giving you, where you have to separate the waste that you're collecting at home. And that was a very rigorous campaign, which was done in Hyderabad, but has to be taken to the next level. That's a second takeaway for me. Third important takeaway is the human aspect of it. I still remember that Indore has a Swachh Indore song that goes on every morning when the van goes to pick up the waste, which I think is a very great way of taking forward their streak, which I think Hyderabad can also do.
You have garbage bins to ensure that the city is clean, or you think it's good to collect from homes directly to minimize on the costs and then process the in the treatment plant?
Sir, I'm of the opinion that both have to be factored in when we are looking at garbage collection. Door-to-door collection is as important as having, in specific places at least, that we have notice boards where they say that you have to collect garbage in these 2 separate bins. I think that becomes very important.
How about treating the waste in Indore?
Sir, I have to read about it.
You worked in Deloitte and that other subsidiary, Touche. What is it? How do you?
Deloitte and Touche.
This company, along with Nagarjuna Group and ICICI, participated in a bid for getting a land to build a township in Nanakramguda. Ultimately, they could succeed. Since you worked in this company for 2 years, have you heard of this venture of Dubai?
The subsidiary I worked for was based for US offices. This project you're talking about is Indian Deloitte firm. So.
Accrual accounting system, since you know some finance, how is it misused by the companies? Special reference to what has happened to Malta, Satya, which is the case.
I don't have strong accounting basics, so I'd have to read about it.
Private sector managers are now being picked up by the government of India to head the services commissions in public domain. Like recently, the lady who is the chairman managing director of CAFE, tractors and farm equipment, and also the Quality Council of India chairperson have been picked up to head services in public domain. You think this kind of a private managerial experience would help setting up better systems in the public domain, in government, public sector?
Sir, I'm of the opinion that it can be put to the best of use, because these people, when they're coming in from private sector, they're bringing in their knowledge, expertise about that specific subject and their own experiences working in that sector, and what can be the problems specific in private sector that they can put to use in public sector. But that being said, when they venture into public sector, they should also have some basic training program of sorts where they understand the nitty-gritty from a public perspective. They are coming in from a narrow private point of view. When they get into that public sector domain, I'm of the opinion that they should have a small training program before they take in their positions.
But do you think they will look at the possibility of getting trained at this age, where that lady Malika has been appointed as chairman of Public Enterprises Selection Board? Will they permit them to get into training to be given by public sector or government functions?
I have the opinion that anybody in private sector, when they have come to that position, they are people who are ready to learn. So when they are in that position, I think all of them would be ready to take in whatever training that they are getting, which will be useful for them in a long run also. So I'm of that opinion.
Don't you think management is universal, be it public sector or private sector? What is required is an efficient sector to be managed, and therefore you need some exposure, special exposure to the public sector.
Yes, sir. The way that they are have to be administered is efficiency, but I think the value system will become very integral when they are coming to public sector. Because in private sector jobs, the way that companies are run is not just efficiency, but also how much are you able to contribute from a profit-making term. But when they're coming into public sector, the same amount of job, even if they go to that differential level, they need to have the respective values that we are serving public at large. We are serving even the poor. We are serving the society at large. So those values become very integral. So I think that becomes a major difference when it comes to somebody who's coming to private to public sector.
Don't you think once the vision of this board where she is going to head and the strategy which has to be used to ensure that it functions effectively, is not sufficient for this lady to manage the board better without any exposure to the functioning of the governmental systems? The vision strategy is what is important. Private sector, as you said rightly, the narrow objective of profit making is the goal. But here, there are certain goals set, like 135 public sector undertaking chief posts are vacant. She should be able to find out the suitable candidates to be selected for filling up this post. The goal is clear, and she must be knowing how to operationalize to ensure that the goal is achieved. So, what special exposure is required?
So, considering that the public sector experience rests on values, and this is something that takes some time to figure into all our decisions that we make. From a private sector point of view, decision making comes only with respect to a yes or no, but in public sector we have too many weights that we have to consider before we go ahead with that decisions. So I'm of the opinion that it will take some amount of time, even if the goal, vision, everything is clear, but for somebody coming into that position and a big shoes to fill, they will have a lot of considerations. So I think that is where the training part becomes important.
The fact that she has been selected because she knows where to trade off, and that's the reason why she has been put there, not to get used to public sector type of functioning, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
So therefore, I think she is having the autonomy to put in place her culture and understanding to decide as to what is to be done. What ails the public-private participation systems investments in India? And do you think it can take off in future with better conceptualization of public-private partnerships and the viability gap funding and things?
So, what ails specifically for public-private partnerships are, one, that both have a different outlook when it comes to making that agreement between public and private partnerships. What private sector is normally looking for is the kind of continuity that we are expecting, or the way that the project will go with respect to private sector. But public sector analysis features also the other aspects, be it land acquisitions, be it environmental aspects. It has too many other weightages to consider. I think when making an agreement, all these factors become very important to make a very consistent agreement. Secondly, until the experience that we have seen with respect to different private partnership models that have come in, be it build, own, operate, build, own, transfer, and all these models, what we are seeing is these are not uniform models, and every region will require its own different set of guidelines when it goes into decision making. So I think that decision making aspect is a trouble. And the third aspect comes into how people in general are affected when it comes to these public-private partnerships. When we are looking at jobs, or when we are looking at regions where these agreements are going on, and so on. So these three are important considerations according to me, where what are ailing the partnerships that we are looking at. But going forward, I think that there is huge scope for improvements in these areas. One being that with respect to people, we are looking at a significant set of ease of doing business reforms that we are looking at a government level. So that is in order to boost more and more of these private partnerships. Coming to the skill development aspect, which a lot of public-private partnerships will require, skilled individuals. We are again making progress there. And the third aspect will also be that we are taking forward schemes like Make in India and so on, which will be very relevant with respect to providing more and more employment.
I say that the private sector doesn't do their homework well. They don't prepare a DPR, they don't look at the risk factors, they don't do risk assessment, they don't have risk management plans, and they would like to sign with the government in power and then take the political risk also, they capture that and try to bid without adequate data at the time of bidding for the project. Do you agree?
Sir, I do not agree that private sector is not doing their homework. Private sector does its homework. They employ specialists who go into understanding how did projects in that arena feature or so on. They employ more specialists in comparison to what our public sector with limited resources can do. So I don't think they are not doing their homework. I think the political risk is an important factor that I think a lot of private firms cannot capture enormously. In a country or in a democracy of our size, it becomes very difficult to see any analytical models in this range if they can consider political risk. I think that becomes an important factor.
So I would like to reiterate my point that by hook or crook, the private sector would like to get the project. They would like to quote not based on the numbers that are made available, but with a view to ensure that in future they will be able to retrofit their costs, giving excuses about time overruns and cost overruns, and try to compensate for whatever losses that they have not anticipated through a due diligence process, which is happening in, if you know about Hyderabad Metro Rail project. Do you agree?
Sir, I have to read more into depth on these factors.
Now tell us, how does the new education policy of Government of India 2020 is going to enhance the skills and employability of the products after say 7 years, 8 years down the line?
So specific things that I think can impact when it comes to employability are, one, we are ensuring that there is a level of creativity that the students have by promoting mother tongue as education. That I think is a very important factor. Secondly, we are looking at promoting the utilization of AI and computer science coding from early ages, which is 6th grade onwards. So I think that is an important move considering how rapidly technology is shaping our society. Thirdly, there is also a push to include other languages after 7th grade, be it Spanish, Russian and so on, so that students can pursue other languages. This opens up international opportunities also with respect to employability. So I think these are three important factors. At a higher education level, the important changes are introducing a common 4-year course, which I think will be important, and also promoting startups and entrepreneurship, where a student can come back to education after to go towards a credit system basically. So I think these are important steps that can help build employability and also self-run employability.
What is preventing educational institutions from doing it now? For instance, introducing vocational education in intermediate, which is already there as part of the curriculum designed by the state government and government of India. When they are not able to succeed in imparting good vocational skills to the students at intermediate level, do you think in the future scenario, they are going to get better vocational education than what it is today? If so, how?
Yes, sir. Sir, I'm of the opinion that vocational education till now has not picked up due to a couple of factors. One being that in a society level, normally families, people and so on, want students to consider higher education because it opens up a lot of opportunities. But now with an education policy in place, we are seeing that with vocational education also you will have the same opportunities that are required. You don't need to take up higher education as the only way, and there are other ways to reach the jobs that you want. So I think that is an important factor considering this.
When automobile mechanic, who is now working in the old city of Hyderabad, who doesn't get a certificate for learning the mechanism from his father for 1 year, is going to be respected in the society in future if he gets a certificate from the first year of the 4-year degree course as an automobile mechanic?
Sir, the important aspect is also that they are promoting people to upskill themselves constantly. So he might be a mechanic of 1 year, he's getting a certificate now. We are telling him that he has more opportunities going forward where he can upgrade his own skills and go towards a higher post. He will get that enough respect and opportunities also.
That's feel that it's going to be imparted in a college and therefore the acceptability of the candidate will be better in society rather than learning it as a skill in an automobile workshop.
Sir, my intention of saying that was they will, what specifically a factor here is whatever they learn, we are already giving them certificates even if they have learned some skill. But I'm saying having a uniform system where there is a certificate saying that I have so and so automobile mechanic skills, I will have higher degree of movement, higher degree of understanding even at an employer level that okay, this person is coming with these specific skill sets and this has been accredited by somebody. So I think that becomes important.
Okay.
You also done your MBA and you have opted for Telangana as your preference cap. Okay, now as a prospective public servant, the mandate the government gives you is to go and get a project for Telangana, let's say. What would be the USP that you are going to say to get that project?
So in my USP, the first statement would be that within 5 years, Telangana has brought a change in a lot of important developmental aspects. One being that we are promoting agriculture where farmers are moving away from one crop to having 2 crops at least in a farming season year. This is with respect to the Kaleshwaram irrigation project. Secondly, we are also promoting cyber city and we are also promoting initiatives, be it TS IPAS, which is to increase more clearances. So we are balancing every specific this thing. Third is we are also promoting smaller districts where better administration can reach people even in areas. And fourthly, we are also looking at promoting our own urban districts also. Hyderabad today is one of the best cities with respect to planning. It also has a lot of heritage sites and so on. So all these factors become very important that Hyderabad has, Telangana as a state, Hyderabad as a city, have gone on to prove what in 5 years that we are capable of doing, and also that there are areas that we still need resources for. So these 2 factors are going to be my main USP points. Climate can also be a factor. Yes, sir.
And isn't it very unique? Can you replicate geography?
Yes. Yes, sir. That will also be the USP factor.
Promote it. The climate itself is an important factor. It's a lot cooler there.
Yeah. You were also in NSS. Has it taught you anything?
Yes, sir. For me, NSS and that too specifically in MESRA has been very important. In the sense, our projects were not comparable to what is done in cities. We situated in MESRA, which is a fringe area, and we have a lot of tribal communities that live there. So it was a very important experience. One, we were taken to schools in tribal areas. That was an important thing. Secondly, we even took up projects during the financial inclusion aspects, when we had to help members open their own bank accounts for people who do not know Hindi and come from different languages. I think that was an important aspect. And thirdly, also the cultural aspects that NSS ensured that we get to know. So I think those three were very important. So it has taught me a lot.
Are there any takeaways from your experience of NSS which you can transpose into your future, assuming that you get selected for some service? Is there any transferability of those insights as a prospective officer? Do you foresee?
Yes, sir. Those 2 years that I've worked with NSS, their motto of "not me but you" has been very important for me. That statement and working specifically for NSS and putting that statement to use is something that I foresee to take forward to the career in civil services. That is very important.
What about the sociology subject? So, why is it that today there's a birthday of the social reform? What has been his contribution?
So his contributions have been multifold. One being that he ensured that Mahars specifically from the downtrodden in Maharashtra were got educational opportunities. He as a reformer also stood for women, going on to open educational centers for them. He and along with his wife both have contributed a lot even for widows. So as a social reformer he was multifold, and I think his important contribution is also in literature, where he's gone on to offer important insights that what is important in taking forward the society. So
I have a feeling that the more one gets educated, the more one looks inwards and then becomes more caste conscious. Peeps. That also explains why there is a demand, for more caste-based organizations coming up and making all kinds of things. As one who has studied sociology, how do you explain? On one hand, we think that education brings in, demolishes all the silos that we built around caste and all that. But on the contrary, most of these movements are only by the urban intelligence. We want for caste X, we want some community building, we want for caste Y some other concession. It's ever growing. So how do we reconcile these conflicts?
So coming from a sociological point of view here, education becomes a two-edged sword, if I can say that. One, it provides you opportunities to take forward your learning in the way that you choose. So like you said, there are people who have taken their education in the best possible way, opening up avenues to society. There are also people who have taken it very inward, saying we need more protection for our own people, our own identity. So I think education plays this two-edged sword here, and that becomes very important. Here again, a person's not just education, but the family he's coming from, the society he's coming from, the situation, circumstances that are facing him. All of these become very important in the point of view that he ultimately develops. Education is just a way that you can take, but it is not
so
the
where should the change be? How do we negotiate this whole issue?
Sir, I'm of the opinion that the change becomes in family first. The values that we take from them and the way that they influence the way we see society. So I think the first change will be from there, not just education.
Is Sanskritization the mere concept of NLC once, or is it really at play?
Sir, in my
Caste crystallization is going on. On the other hand, Srinivas says Sanskritization takes place.
And then westernization, next generation.
How do we explain this? Whereas Srinivas' concept now is on, can we put it in the cold deep freeze and then forget it?
I'm of the opinion that his concept is applicable in certain spheres of life, not all spheres of life. Westernization is one phenomena that is specific in certain phases again, not in all phases. So I do not see that his concept is not relevant. There are implications of Sanskritization going on in societies. That is there. Even with caste crystallization happening, both are actually happening at different degrees in different societies with respect to India. So I do not see that his concept is not applicable. It's just differently applicable in different societies.
So, look, it is still valid.
Yes, I would.
You are okay. And I also keep hearing about women getting paid, and now it has become discourse now, public domain. People are talking about the homemaker should get paid for what she is doing at home. Should it be really monetized?
Sir, I'm of the opinion in this that it should not be monetized. This is because one, we are changing a very fundamental family equation into an employer and employee relation, which I don't think is in a long run is feasible, even for the woman or for her own husband or the wife. I don't think it's a feasible step for that matter. But that being said, important solutional aspect here would be the Western model of prenuptial agreement that happens before a man and a woman get married, where we are telling the woman that she has certain rights on the property and also on the money that the man is earning, which I think is a better feasible step than going forward for salaries.
To this whole debate, apart from it's all family, we are all together, there is a sentiment. The woman of the house takes care of the entire family, she has got some kind of a emotional feeling, attachment and all that. Let us keep that all aside for it. Let's talk it, look at it from state point of view. Political parties are talking about it. Recent Tamil Nadu election, Makkal Needi Mayyam says they have included in the manifesto. So what could be the implication of that?
Implication if implemented?
Well, taxpayers' money, should it be given away to every lady who is a homemaker?
No, sir. I think that is not a good step. If I had to suggest something with respect to this, one would be to promote a concept of unions for housewives, which has been turned down. That is important that they come together and see if there are any economic opportunities that they can handle, any economic cooperative if they can form, if there are any other employable opportunities where they earn their own income and take it in a sustainable manner, that they are not dependent on political parties with respect to the money they get on a long run.
You are also into music. What kind of Carnatic music? How is this different from Hindustani?
Sir, the difference comes in the way that we are taught Carnatic and Hindustani. In Carnatic music, we have a system that is devised which goes from Sarali, Swaras and so on until the Varnas and the Kritis. Kritis become... I've learned formally till my 11th standard, sir. Post that, I've only been practicing what I've learned. Sir, my favorite raga is Nata Ragam. Yes, sir.
Can you say something about that raga, some Varnam or something?
Name?
Or Kriti,
popular song.
can you sing Nata Raga?
No, I'm not asking you to sing, but just mention.
No, if you can sing Alapana, do that Nata.
Natai, but in Telugu we call it Nata. We call it Nata Ragam, sir. Yes, sir. I'll do the Arohana and Arohana for Nata Ragam, sir. Sare Gama Pada Nisa Sani Pa Mare Sa. Sir, yes, sir, Mahabganapati.
So many.
I think I'll just take you away back to your IIM days. My personal view and also some feedback is that IIMs are not very good at entrepreneurship. They are not generated enough entrepreneurs, and they in fact got lots of positions in MNCs. You yourself, got into this sphere in the Goldman Sachs. I think they had this 10,000 women program. Even the highest First is whether you agree that IIMs are not producing enough today.
Sir, I agree that IIMs are not producing the number of entrepreneurs that they should be producing. That I agree. But it comes both ways, sir. It's not just the institute, but also the students who are coming in with their aspirations. So the families and students that put in 15 lakhs to 20 lakhs into getting an MBA education do not encourage their own children to go forward with entrepreneurial activities immediately after a degree. So, seeing how parents themselves have taken this view and how students become very conscious of a decision they make, it becomes important for IIMs also to take forward student opinions and say, okay, we will look at how you take up an MNC job, try to clear your loans, and then maybe consider entrepreneurship. But that again takes a long route, because when they're coming in with such huge loans for anybody, it takes in a 4 or 5 year time period, and in that span we are so used to the corporate culture that it becomes very difficult to get into the entrepreneurial route. And that is why Goldman Sachs program was to encourage women to see, okay, we will look at how this can be done, your loans, we will look at how we can kind of streamline it so that you can take forward the ideas that you have at a pretty young age to a good startup level.
More focus on ROI than doing something on your own, building an enterprise, providing employment, generating wealth, and all that. So the immediate concern is return on your 15 lakhs or ISB 20 lakhs, so that you go ahead.
That becomes an important factor.
Yes, my second question is, now this COVID situation, pandemic, we're worried about many things. Vaccination is the biggest challenge. So if you, as a manager, given a task, how can you do it quickly? What are the simple steps or what the framework that you can think of in India?
Sir, I have very limited knowledge in this space, but I think some important steps that I can think of as a manager are: one, communicating the aspect of vaccination or why it is important. So, once we are able to generate that confidence in people, and that messaging should not only be in English, Telugu, Urdu, we have a lot of other languages also that people, specifically until 45 years, there are a lot of senior citizens who might be coming from other languages that we should also prioritize, that they get that adequate messaging. That becomes very important from that aspect, that people themselves have that push. So, messaging becomes important. Secondly, vaccinational drives that are there in place, they should have adequate booth system and allotment system, that they have a specific number at a specific time and specific 10 minutes period that they are given, which has to be generated in advance so that people can plan and come. Normally now that we are seeing hour slots are given or half an hour slots, and people tend to relax. So I think minute slots where we are saying this 10-minute slot is yours and so on. I think minutely planning certain things will become very important. These are two things that I can think of when it comes to speeding the process.
Good. Yeah, actually we have taken a little longer. That's because we are not able to find any chink in your armor. You're too damn good. You are able to come up with answers to every question. So I have failed. I've been in this business of mock interviews for more than 10 years now. And still I've never seen somebody who could somehow come with some kind of a rationally convincing answer. I'm not saying these are the best of the answers. You come up with his question on COVID was something else. Then you came up with that 10-minute slot, etc. Anyway, all this is very good. You are ideal for a private sector. But nevertheless, at the end of the day, when you don the role of a public servant, I'm sure your priorities will differ. Your value system would be totally different, and then you will make an ideal IAS officer. I have no doubt about that. When is the interview? Okay. Do you normally wear this sari? This color is excellent, very impressive. June, very hot in Delhi, and then this is the ideal which reflects all radiation, heat, etc. But are you comfortable?
I practice it.
Oh, you got to practice. You look very impressive. What's your height? That's all. You look in the sari 5'6". Yeah, you're very good in these matters. So I have nothing to say. For the first time, I'm not able to find your weaknesses, but I'm sure they'll find it.
No, even I don't have much to say, except that you don't have to defend Mallika Srinivasan's private sector role to say that she doesn't know anything about public sector and she has to be trained. I think it will not be taken very kindly for the reason that she has been in public domain for a very long time, in the sense that she has been chairman of the Adil Jainil Bhai also there in the system. The reason why they have taken at that top level is to bring the best practices that they have seen elsewhere in the world, not to get corrupted with this kind of a system and get mentored by otherwise not so very useful mentors who could mentor the bureaucracy well. Therefore, they have been brought in for their expertise, for bringing in new ideas from the private sector. And it's not that if you have to go to government, having worked in Deloitte, you need to be trained, you need to be exposed to public sector government system. So they don't have to. They have been brought in for their niche, for the kind of expertise that they have. Therefore, it's good. Government wanted to try this kind of expertise being brought in, commencing from lateral entry at joint secretary level and all that. So you don't have to say that no, everybody has to learn. Of course, life is a learning process, it's a different pattern. At any age, everybody has to learn. But then, specifically, you don't have to recommend that they need to be trained. Maybe you can say they may have to be exposed a little bit here and there. That's one. Also, they are being brought in to ensure that they interview the prospective CMDs of public sector undertakings as to how they are going to fit in the role and not work based on rules, regulations, the acts, the outdated. So they have to be role bound. As to how they are going to bring in outcomes as soon as possible, instead of waiting for long years. So that is the purpose. Then about PPP, again you will have to agree that private sector's tendency, based on the experience that we have had worldwide, say public transport, nowhere in the world it had subsidy. It is not profitable. Knowing that fully well, giving a number as a viability gap funding, they got the bid. So they would like to pick as to what are the so-called loopholes in the contract where they can encash, given an opportunity. There is a 1.5 years delay in front of assembly to lay the line. So they would like to say that all the losses are attributable to the delayed decision making by the government, and therefore they would like to somehow, get with the politician and try to recover whatever they would have lost. The point that I am trying to make is that it's all speculative bidding that is taking place because data room is not there, the studies are not there. Somehow, viability gap funding, they could have bid for 1,000 crores more for viability gap, they would have still got the contract. But the intention was to first get in and then work together with the government in their own way, in the governmental way, not a private sector professional way. So you have to admit that if you have seen some cases, if you have not seen any such cases, it's okay. Otherwise, as the chairman said, you are perfect and I think you will do very well. All the best.
By and large, you are very diplomatic in your answers, which is the actual trait that is required for, getting to this level of final selection. I thought I would just supplement, your take on this women getting paid. The downside to it is, once you start paying, what happens is some kind of a stereotyping will take place. Okay. So since either government or the man of the house, whoever it is, the moment you get paid for it, this is your job. I mean, cooking, cleaning, washing, everything is your job. Therefore, you are getting paid. Therefore, this is your job. Now you look at how movies over a period of time have stereotyped. Isn't it? Either they are receptionists, they are typists, etc., etc. Right? So now psyche has developed that once you look at a woman, you can take her as a receptionist, not as at least a middle level manager. Isn't it? So this kind of, there is a danger. The downside to it is, the moment you start paying and then, slot them in that particular role, what happens is stereotyping takes place. Then see, what are you achieving? Just because you are putting some money in a pocket, though strictly not a pocket, but call it pin money. So that's the problem. probably, I mean, which is very likely to, come up for discussion. This is the downside. The caste crystallization, I really don't see much headway in this. You are only saying that education and all that, but somehow the trend is now the reverse. The more educated you are, the more exposed you are. Because it's one thing to assert your own right as a community because of historical, disadvantages and things like that. But then the way really forward is big question.
The demand to be declared backward.
More and more fellows are coming. And they want to, actually from BC, they want to go even into
ST.
What is happening really?
Marathas who dominate the political power in Maharashtra, they have managed to get a reservation. And later on, they will say, why BC? Why not SC? Oh, God knows. Anyway, these are all, it's not for you to solve the society. It's a huge gargantuan problem. We are just observers.
I think I agree, your communication skill and confidence are quite impressive. I think, since you have management huge baggage on you, I think you have to look at gender issues, women in boardrooms, women on homes. A lot of these things I think you do focus. So you might be question on those issues. That's my sense.
You could also check up the recent Supreme Court decision on co-personality rights and all. Being a woman, slightly some areas you have to willy-nilly you have to read. There's no other problem.
The Hindu Succession Act amendment is with retrospective effect from the time of the birth. So when a girl child is born, just as a male child, she also inherits the ancestry
to the property.
co-parts.
Nothing to do with whether father is alive or dead. So some of those related issues you can also just go through. You have plenty of time. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Anything you want to ask?
No, sir. Just one question, sir. I completed my regional language in Sanskrit. So, can I expect questions in that area?
Very much. But I was tempted to ask you to say something about Sanskrit. Supposing I said Raghuvamsha. Why is it called Raghuvamsha? Why not Bhagirath Vamsha? Why not Dilip Vamsha? The greatest Rama Vamsha. Why Raghuvamsha? Something like that I would have said. Kalidasa. Don't worry. Thank God we didn't ask. He could have asked anything. What triggers, nobody knows. So it all depends. But you have to be mentally prepared. Then you have to say that I don't know that much of Sanskrit. I only know this much. I have never read Kalidasa. Most of my knowledge of Sanskrit is in English, not in Sanskrit. So I can't communicate in Sanskrit. I do not know how to frame a sentence in Sanskrit.
You read the Sanskrit in English.
Most of what in schools we are taught is in that way, sir.
Then come down to our question. If you don't talk about Raghuvansham, talk about our question.
It's a wide area, and if a question comes, is it okay if I say that I don't?
You can say that I am not that good. Supposing one of the interviewers knows Sanskrit, then he asks a question in Sanskrit. You have to give a reply, a grammatically correct reply. So it all depends. I really don't know.
I always studied Sanskrit in English.
Yeah.
I studied in English.
Now, for instance, if you are asked to give, say, Rama Shabda, Akaranta Punnindu, Rama Shabda, you will be able to do it.
Yes,
Fundamental. So you say, I know the fundamentals, that's what I have studied. That's it. Don't be negative.
yes, sir.
What little you say. Beyond that, supposing they say, you now give 3 sentences in Sanskrit as to why we should learn Sanskrit. Difficult. So, that much of depth I don't have. In school, I just learned. It's an exposure. Any other question? Yeah, but you see, sometimes being so diplomatically correct.
Other politically correct.
But that will make you feel that you are drifting with the wind. For example, when I printed you with taxpayers' money, should it be given?
by Kamal Hassan. These are scarce resources of the state. The state itself does not get any money. It's only the very small percentage of people who pay the taxes, direct or indirect taxes. Should that be frittered away in paying every lady who works at home or who cooks food? Then how do you do this development? How do you have infrastructure, education, health? So there are the major issues in which, if it is merely compensation from the family, as you said, some prenuptial agreement, things like that, that's a private affair. But should state start diverting all this money? There is hardly any development in Tamil Nadu now. Most of it is taken away for all these social welfare schemes. So what will happen? Then who will take care of the public health? Who will take care of the education? Government, the way Delhi government is able to improve government schools. So at some stage, you have to take a principled stand. At some stage. Otherwise, you are very good in avoiding controversy, which is good. But at some stage, you have to take it. Okay, then all the best. God bless you.